Hello there and welcome. We're about to start the second half of the season here. We had a very good first half of the season where we, well, have been winning a lot. We won almost 15 games in a row here, you could say. We had both our losses immediately, so at least we got those out quickly. We've had some wins against Arsenal, against Tottenham, Everton, drew against United, beat Barca, and generally had a very, very good start to the season here. But now begins a very rough second half of the season where we have Liverpool, Arsenal, and City all in a row here. And I think what's going to decide if we kind of win or have chances of winning this season is going to be this game against City on the 10th of January. I'm also going to be trying to add a new kind of format to this where not only giving after action reports, I'll be adding some highlights from certain games while we kind of summarize each month individually. And I think that's going to add a little bit more life to the series. And hopefully, by going back to summarizing everything monthly, I can cut down on the size of these videos because they are becoming kind of long. And I fear I am saying a few things a little bit too many times, which of course is a bit of a problem with me because I do kind of go in circles. It's a habit from teaching where it just makes it easier for some students to understand something if you explain it from several angles and a couple of times is the best way I can describe it. So that's why I do it. But yeah, hopefully I can kind of stop doing that bad habit for at least this game. For now, though, we're going to get right into it. We have a couple of transfers lined up. João Pedro here is under bid from West Ham. We have already sold Alderete here. He'll be going to Al Sadd for 22 million. And Heidel here, or Hedel, will most likely go to another Saudi Arabian club for somewhere between 20 to 30 million. We'll have to see exactly what we figure out in terms of the deal. And with potentially here also João Pedro going for 42 million, we could end up having a decent chunk of money here for this transfer window. I'm not really planning on buying anyone, but if we could say strengthen our defense here, which is once again our weakest weakest part of the squad, that would probably help. We know that Lewis Dunk is getting older, and with Alderete on his way out of the door, we basically only have two main defenders, and we're probably going to need one more here. I'm not planning on giving Dunk a new contract. I did ask his agent. He wanted more money than he's getting paid now. So with a 34-year-old, that's basically our third best option. He is a team leader. That is true. I'm thinking that it just isn't worth it. We'd rather try and find someone new to put into the squad. And we have someone new coming into the squad fairly soon, since we have already made a deal for Puentes. That's going to go through on the 15th. And while Puentes isn't super good or anything like that, he is a centre-back talent that could potentially be pretty decent, and we'll probably give him a couple of games here this year and try and get that development going. So that's going to be the goal here. Let's see how we do. So Brighton has gone ahead here and offered me a new 4-year contract on 140k a week, which honestly is probably something I should go ahead and accept. I didn't actually realize, but my current contract is actually running out in, well, next year. So let's go ahead and get that contract negotiation out of the way. We still haven't gotten any bids in on our goalie, but that is a story for a different time. And they're giving me an immediate contract for 5 years, 140k. Honestly, I think I'm happy with that. Can I want to see if we could add a clause, must upgrade stadium, because that is currently still the main thing that I want to see. Of course, the stadium is fairly new. It was built rather than made. Built in 2011. I know that there is a rule like you can't build a new stadium if it isn't 20 or 25 years old, one of those two. But I believe that is only after you, as the player, has gotten your first stadium built. So could be something with that. We also do have a stadium sponsorship deal, so could be a combination of both of those, but honestly I don't know. I'll go and consult the Football Manager Reddit to see what they have to say, because they can probably give me a bit of a pointer on what the problem is. So I'll go ahead and take a look there. January got off to the worst foot potentially possible, as you probably already have seen. We had a 4-4 game against Liverpool, which we really threw away. And to top it off all, Neves hit himself in the ankle for a month here. So it's basically the most important month of the year for us, for certain, because again, we have these matches that will probably decide where we end up in the league to some degree. To be fair, we have other games too, but the City game here is the most important one, by far. These Champions League games, although they're against good teams, they aren't that super vital for us to get through. As long as we win one of these, we should be good. And even if we don't, we're already in the playoffs. But losing Neves against Arsenal and City, that's not something we want to... that's not something we want, let's put it like that. So we'll just have to try and make something out of this, but it is rough for sure. The transfer deadline has passed, and as you can see here, we did not get to sell Hedl, unfortunately. We sold Ayari, Alderete, and Pedro. Pedro for that expected 42 million to West Ham, 22 million for Omar. We got that done before the window. And Ayari here, we got sold for 7.5. So honestly, I think I'm happy with this. It's a shame, of course, that we couldn't get Hedl sold, but all of the Saudi Arabian clubs had to go digging for money, so they did not have the money necessary to purchase him, which is unfortunate. Now we have brought in Puentes though, who is a potentially good central defender, which is something that we are missing. So if he develops his talents, that's going to be great. But that is basically the only player we ended up bringing in this window. I did try and bring in Ruben Neves on free transfer, but currently he is being quoted by Liverpool. And the main reason why we couldn't actually get him is because he demanded 375,000 per week. And that is a little bit too costly for us. That's the best way I can describe that. Now, in terms of the games that has been played, you've probably seen them. But let's go over them quickly again. We are in January. We started with the draw against Liverpool, where we screwed ourselves over by putting in a couple of own goals. And that has kind of been the theme this January. We've had good results. We haven't had a single loss, but we've been throwing away some games with mainly own goals. But generally, it's gone fairly, guess we could say fairly well. We did beat Arsenal. We did beat City. I will admit this one was incredibly lucky. City should have won. This is the reason why our goalie was our highest rated player. So this one was a little bit more on our side. We missed a penalty as well. So definitely deserve that one. But yeah, the City game was very, very lucky. Inter, on the other hand, that was basically also very lucky. We also got screwed over by another own goal. I think we had 5 own goals over the course of January, which is a lot. But yeah, this was basically a throwaway game. We had already passed the league phase here. As you can see, we're 5 points ahead of Barcelona. So that game didn't really matter for us. And as such, we basically played a complete junior team. We should have lost it, in my honest opinion. But it seems to be the theme of this team that they just pull something out of the hat that they shouldn't, like this draw against Nottingham Forest, who is currently looking at relegation. So we are still leading. That isn't because we've been playing well. Well, we have been playing well, but we had a few draws. But it's mainly because City has been doing the same thing, drawing against Everton, drawing against Chelsea, but also managing to lose against not only us, but also Norwich, of all teams. So it's been a bit of an interesting one, for sure. But so far, things are looking good. We're back onto a positive financial situation. And I'm pretty sure the reason why the board is denying me the build a new stadium is straight up because a new stadium would require, basically the stadium that we already have is too fresh. We probably need to wait 20, 25 years, so 31, 36. And that's when we can basically start to try and go for a new stadium, because we are filling it up every weekend. That's the thing. It's been filled up every weekend. We have more people on the season pass waiting list. Season ticket holders. I've been ruined by games by calling it the season pass. Yes, I bought a season pass to Brighton. But as I'm saying it, we fill up the stadium every single time. We go into the Premier League here, and I believe there is a stat here that shows you stadium filling. But basically, that is at 100%, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this shows you capacity. But even then, as you can see, we aren't actually that high up. We have the 12th largest stadium. So I do kind of feel like we should be able to upgrade it. And even then, it's almost 10,000, 8,000 seats up to the stadium above us. So yeah, that is a little bit worrisome. But yeah, it is what it is. Our reputation is going up, though, I guess you could say. Although this doesn't actually scale. Well, it's the managers, not the teams. But yeah, it's been a good month. As I said, I'll be experimenting a little bit with the videos, not really videos, with the goals from games, adding the ones that look good, things that are interesting, just to add a little bit of flair. I'm probably gonna maybe add the voiceover over that, at least for the results. And what I am thinking is that we go ahead and keep it like that. I think that should be a good way of doing it, but I'm wondering if I should use the footage direct from the games or the footage from the replay of the games, because I realized the footage from the replay of games has a nicer HUD to kind of record from. So I'm a little bit undecided on that, but I'll experiment with it a little bit and figure out which one I feel is the best. I have a extreme skill when it comes to the ability of jinxing myself. It is actually legendary. So remember how I said that once again we're having a rather good season? Well, that might be coming to a very, very quick end here. And you can see why. Broken hand out for 4 and 5 weeks. But if you look at the injury list, you can see that we have another goalie here who's also out. Luckily, he's just out for 3 more days. But he was out for this game too. And as a result, I did not bring a extra goalie. And as a result, Tottenham beat us 2-0, which shouldn't come as a big surprise. It is what it is when you don't have a proper goalkeeper. And that is our first loss in 22 games. Now that does throw a potential, brick into the championship challenge. Not gonna lie about that. But we're still gonna try our best here. There's no other way around it. And in terms of what we have to contend with this month, we still have United, Everton, and Villa, as well as City in the FA Cup. So, while it's a little bit bad, it's not completely horrible. With our undefeated chain beaten or broken by Tottenham, we lost against them. We did manage to kind of fight back by winning against United and Everton before we also beat City in the FA Cup. Because of the fact that we had Inter coming up in the round of 16 in the Champions League, I decided to play pretty much a B team. And that was a huge mistake. We lost against Aston Villa, and that has now kind of put us in a bad situation in the Premier League, but we should still be fine. Now, in the Champions League, the saving of players didn't really pay off as we drew away against in the first leg against Inter. But Fulham, in the mid-time, 1-0 with, again, pretty much a B team. We should have won by more, I'll say. But it was fine, let's be honest. Now, the second round here of the Champions League went extremely well for us. That's the best way I can describe it. We scored 6 goals. Ferguson scored 4. And we kind of outplayed ourselves here, but we did dominate the game. And it was fully deserved that we took the lead here and kind of knocked out Inter. I'll put it like that. Now, the reason why we stopped in the middle of March is very simple. The fact that we have the youth intake here. And this year, we don't really have any big talents coming through for our side. We have Joel Herzog and Sami Kundi. Both of them are rated at 2.5 stars with a white star. So nothing that will really be massive for our team. It's in a below average intake with 2 top talents. But yeah, I'd have to agree with that sentiment, unfortunately. So we'll see what we can do. Apparently, we have a little bit of an interesting glitch here because the youth candidates tried to match a friendly at the same time as we has a fixture against the Leeds under 18. So that is a little bit problematic, but it is what it is. In March now, we're square points again with Brighton after those two losses. So, sorry, not square points with Brighton, square points with City after the losses against Tottenham and Aston Villa. So I can't really laugh much for City losing 3-0 to Norwich, can I? The remaining teams that we're going to be playing against is Wolves, Newcastle, who has been pretty tough enough for me to crack, interestingly enough. Chelsea. But for the most part, it looks like it's going to be smooth sailing the Premier League. As long as we can. Sorry about that. As I said, as long as we can beat Newcastle and Chelsea, for the most part, the rest of these teams should be somewhat smooth sailing. Newcastle is currently third in the league, so not weak by any means of the imagination. And Chelsea is actually down in 10th. I should be more worried about West Ham and Brentford. In reality, Chelsea is just usually a fairly large team, so yeah, that's why I'm more concerned about them. It's actually wrong. I should be more worried about Brentford and West Ham. So we actually have a little bit of a more challenging, I guess you could say, end to the season, but at least Brentford and West Ham is at home. We usually have a pretty good home result. Kind of showcased there with Inter. So I'm still very hopeful. But the fact that we now have FA Cup, the Champions League, and the league itself has kind of shown the weakness of our squad, because our squad isn't very deep. That is actually the main problem with our squad. The fact that it's lacking in depth. We have decent, first picks, but that is also where the depth ends. We don't really have much in terms of backup. For instance, if Ferguson gets injured, which luckily enough he rarely, if ever, does, we'd be in a little bit of trouble. But at least now Monaghan has actually grown fairly substantially. We'll have a look at exactly how he's grown at the end of the season. But finishing, dribbling, both of those has gone up. So he is potentially becoming into somewhat of a replacement here for Ferguson. And he's been playing a lot of the league games, in all honesty. But yeah, we shall continue this season, and we'll see where we are at once we get closer to the end. Been a month and a half since the last update, and now we're in basically the end here of April, since the mid of March. And as you've seen, things haven't gone very well for us. We had drew against Wolves. We did beat Brentford in the FA Cup quarterfinal before we had another kind of bad showing against Newcastle. Then we had a loss against PSG and another draw, meaning that we were out of the Champions League in the quarterfinal. They beat Norwich though. They did lose to Liverpool in the FA Cup semi-final, another one where we didn't really deserve to kind of move on. Drew against Brentford, and now a 1-0 against Chelsea. Now, I just want to mention that we've had some problems with injuries, in particular over the course of the last few games, let's just put it like that. And as you can see, João Neves is injured. We have Smith Rowe being injured, and this isn't even his first injury. He's had a earlier injury as well, as you can see here, in March. That left him out for a while, and now he's picked up another injury that's kind of the same. But Baldassani here has also been injured for a while, and generally we've just had a pretty miserable time with injuries causing a bit of mayhem and kind of messing up the tournaments there for us. I don't think we would have beaten PSG, I'll be honest. Both of these are kind of bad results from us from a stat point of view. And Liverpool here, the Liverpool game wasn't anything to write home about either. It was a closer affair where we basically had some chances. We had a disallowed goal, but Bargi, Neves, both of them managed to get injured late in the game. And generally, it was a little bit bad luck, a little bit poor planning. But nothing we can do with that. We're out. It is what it is. We'll just have to deal with it. And the Champions League here was even worse because this one we genuinely deserved to lose. You can see it here from the estimation on that home game for PSG, and on the return, there was nothing better. They were still hammering us. We probably deserved a goal over the course of these games, but even then, we deserved to lose the aggregate. So, yeah, nothing really to write home about. But yeah, that is how the season has gone so far. The only thing that we have a chance of winning is going to be the Premier League. We are square on points with City. City, however, does have one less game played, and they do have a little bit of a rough finish to the season here. They're going to be playing against United, Everton, Arsenal, Villa, and Fulham. And as you can see, they haven't been completely rock solid either. They've lost against Barcelona. They've now lost against Tottenham. And with that, we only have, no, not even Chelsea. All the English clubs are out now in the quarterfinal. And we'll have to see what happens. Because as I'm saying, City has a little bit of a harder final run than we do. We have West Ham, Burnley, Crystal Palace, and Leicester. So if we can just keep things together, City loses a game or two, then things could still get fairly interesting here. And you can see that we're equal on goals. We have more drawn games than they do. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do here, honestly. It could be a very, very fun end of the season. And West Ham is pretty highly rated here, but Burnley, Crystal, Leicester, they're all further down the grid here. So I think we'll be fine. And once again, we have the chance to potentially demote Crystal Palace, but it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to get that done. But 4 games to go this season. Let's see if we can pull off something amazing. Just to add a little bit of insult to injury here, Restus has joined the injury list. So a goalie that has been carrying us, that's the best way I can describe it. Let's have a look at this, 724 average rating as a goalie. So he's been very important. Has now picked up an injury, but at least we do have a reserve still, which is Heddle, one of them. But yeah, he's still here. I'm still going to be trying to sell him. We'll have to see if we have Fulham, Newcastle. There's a bunch of teams here that are interested. We'll see if we can bump up that price a little bit and get him sold this summer. That would be good. And we do have still Weber again. We do still have Simon. They're out on loans. We actually have a bunch of players out on loans. So, as one might expect, there's potentially still also a bunch of money to be made on these names right here. So financially, we're actually not looking very bad. So also with the goalkeeper position, we're fine there. But that injury does chuck a little bit of problem into the plan. Now the question is, do I want to go for this guy too? We've been scouting around. This guy is someone we picked up a few seasons back in terms of the reports. And we'll be keeping tabs on him. As you can see, he's potentially 4 stars. He's also young, just 17 years old. He'd be coming in January if we were to try and go sign him. He's going to be a little bit expensive. But he did have potentially extremely doubtful there in terms of interest. Dubious interest from Brighton, but this guy would probably be the better alternative. Minimum fee release of 13.2, but is estimated to go for 12. So I think we might pick him up, another talent. My shortlist has not really grown anything. We haven't actually found any of this season's Wonder Kids, as you can see here. The youngest is Fadi, who is still very tempting. Potentially 4.5 stars as a striker. AMC is not bad, but he's going to be expensive since he is in Lyon. We have Unsworth here, who's also a very interesting target. Same here with, well, not really Gianpaolo. But as you can see, a lot of the kids that make it to the list here, Kai Makamis here, definitely going to go for him once he gets some interest. Are generally kids that I would, hire in a heartbeat. And we even have Ian Price here being interested, but he too is a bit of an interesting individual because he can play a little bit too many places. So that makes it harder for him to kind of reach his potential. And with the price tag he has, and the fact that he's laid back, does make me kind of question if we want to pick him up. But he would be. I'm scouting him again just to be on the safe side. But he would be a good pickup. And yeah, basically, keep an eye on as many as we can. Stephen Jones here, another potential defensive central defender that we could pick up. Doesn't really have too many problems to deal with, so would like to pick him up if we could. Not too expensive. Wooten is the English goalkeeper that we've been keeping an eye on, but I'll do another scouting session. If that comes out as another 3-star, we're probably going to take him off the list. Mark Turner here, again, one of the defenders that I'm looking at. Douglas Duff. We've actually already made this deal happen. As you can see here, the transfer is being arranged for the summer for almost 15 million, but I think that's going to be worth it. He is a pure, well, not really pure. He's a defender on left. He still has too many points to play off, but he could be also very, very good. And as I said, I am considering picking up Mark Turner. He is not as good, but he does lack composure. So there is some concerns here. I do want to just go for as many 2020 scout assignments as I can, get a few different opinions. But we are getting Galletto next season too, so we could also argue that we are getting a little bit too many talents. Our team can't really handle them. And I've also been tempted to try and get Kvaratskhelia and Saka, if we can snatch either of those for a cheap amount of money. As you can see, this guy here is potentially out of a contract next year, which is also why he's on the list. So we'll see if we can snatch either of them cheaply. That would be nice. But yeah, that is kind of the plans going forwards. We don't really have much else in terms of future transfers planned. Just Galletto and Duff. But Galletto too is, again, a fairly good talent here, potentially 4 stars. So we'll see how we handle things once we get them in. We might loan out a few players as the squad is getting kind of filled at this point with probably a little bit too many of those young talents. If you look at the potential here, we have Fuentes, aswell, Gray. Well, Gray is basically a squad player at this point. Same for Monaghan. But we have Clark, we have Board. Board we're probably going to loan out or sell, either or. Mitchell, who's homegrown. The potential has been going down. Same here with Naipen. So we might end up cashing in on some of these, but generally here, they still have the talent. And the reason why the stars are going down for the most part is due to our reputation going up and the expectations going up. So we shall deal with that as we go. But so far, things have gone fairly well. I have played this game a ton before, for hundreds, if not thousands of hours, previous versions, and the match engine doesn't seem to be super super change from that. The tactics that I used to use, which was basically something like this one, does still work. I'm still doing some slight changes every now and again, trying out different strategies if I can, but nothing too serious really. So we're sticking with the base for now. It does gets the job done. And as you can see, we did start. Did consider starting with Clark and Prentice, so I'll have to see if that actually works. I try to just put one super youth player onto the field every game that I can, and that has probably cost us some points this season. But even then, I would probably still keep on doing it. It makes the game more fun. So yeah, let's see how the last 4 games go, and if where we end up in the league. Potentially here, we should have second in hand, but depending on City's performance, I think rather than our own, we might see a Premier League win here in our 3rd season. So United, Man United has already done us a huge service here after we played against West Ham, because we hammered them 3-0, Ferguson scoring all 3 goals, and City fell at the first hurdle here. They still have a game on us, but right now the points are equal, provided City win their next game. And as I said here, West Ham should have been our potentially hardest hitting opponent. We have 3 games to go. Those 3 games are Burnley, Crystal, and Leicester, or Leicester. It's pronounced something interesting that I am too lazy to check right now. I'm probably butchering it, so yes, apologies for that. Leicester. Leicester? Leicester. Something. I think it's Leicester, but we'll see. But yeah, we have them. We have Crystal, who's now having a bit of a bad time. And what was the last one? Was it Burnley? Or am I misremembering? It is Burnley, who's already been relegated and have nothing to play for right now. So we really should be winning our remaining games here. That's the only thing I can expect. And if that does not happen, I'm going to be incredibly not salty, but upset. So we are going to go with fairly aggressive strategies for all 3 of these. We're going to be playing for as many goals as possible. As you can see, the goal difference is 4 right now. And if City wins all of theirs, they might end up scoring more goals than us. So we're definitely going to be hammering these 3 teams with everything that we have to see if we can get something going for us. So as I mentioned, Burnley had nothing to play for. We hammered them pretty significantly here. 0.01 XG. So the one shot they had was absolutely nowhere. We allowed Monaghan to start playing here just to be, well, I thought it would be fine. I was worried at close to halftime, I'll be honest. But we pulled through, and that's the important part. However, Patterson here has picked up another injury, so we'll have to see here what we are doing wrong, because we've had some smaller injuries, of course. We had that sprained knee ligaments earlier, but over the last 2 months in particular, we've had 4 players who've had recurring injuries for 2-3 weeks. Smith Rowe, Baldasani, Patterson, and a couple of other players. So I might have changed the training up to be a little bit too aggressive, and I'll try and correct that. It could also be that I've tweaked the strategy a little bit to make it more intensive, which could also be, not the best. So we'll see how we deal with that. However, that's not the big thing. The big thing here is that now we have a 5-point difference to City. City fumbled again. City fumbled at the second hurdle, Everton. And let's be honest here, City probably deserved a goal, but there's nothing massively surprising here. Of course, again, City deserved at least a goal there, but they are fumbling the bag, and they still have at least 2 fairly rough games ahead of them against Arsenal and Aston Villa. And we on our side, we have Leicester. I can't pronounce it. Leicester and Crystal Palace.
Now, Palace is probably safe from relegation, so unless Nottingham pulls a miracle, same here for Fulham because the goal difference is just so massive. So not going to be a relegation derby, but as long as we win one of these, that might be, well, not really, because they have played a game less. So with 2 points ahead, as long as we win one and draw the other one, we'll be fine. So let's get the next game done and see where we stand in this year's league. So after that win against Crystal Palace, we've actually won the title. As you can see, we have won the Premier League title. This is actually a little bit surprising to me, but it basically tells me that City has bottled another of their games. And by looks of things here, City ended up drawing against Aston Villa. Okay, so that explains it. So they had 5 games, whereas we had 4. And of those 5 games, they've kind of messed up 3 of them. They've lost 5 potential points there. No, sorry, not even that. They've lost 7 potential points there. And that's pretty bad over the course of the last 4 games. Well, even more than that, 10 points lost in the last 6 games. So rather than us doing well, I'd say this was a bottle job by City, but we have actually done incredibly well this season, I must say. I think the main thing that we've been able to do here is win a lot of games 1-0, as you can see. We've been pretty solid defensively, I believe. If we go into the proper league table, what's the XG table look like? I don't know how to read this, but apparently we were supposed to be third. But yeah, let's see here. I wanted to have a look at the stages. There we go. I was gonna say goals against. We have kind of similar to City here. We haven't actually really conceded too many goals, and Newcastle actually conceded less goals than that even. But we've been scoring a lot more than City, and that has helped us out here. But again, it is a bit surprising that we pulled off the league here. Board is happy. I'm one of the top Norwegian managers. Timeline here is kind of fancy with a golden outline for the league, a purple outline for the Hall of Famers, and I just realized that I gave you guys a little bit of a sneak peek here. If you remember Ian Price, we're just gonna go on this tangent really quick. He was someone I considered not picking up because of the laid-back personality, uses calmness. I think we can probably fix that by putting him with a couple of model citizens in a group. But I elected to pick him up because we made a deal for 25 million, the lower end of his value. But the main reason why we ended up picking Ian Price up rather than, say, Mark Turner is because Mark Turner here would not be available for anything less than 50 million. We tried to negotiate with Everton, they just did not want it. And 50 million for a talent like Turner is not something that I would say is worth it. He has decent physical stats already. He has good marking, he has good tackling, he has good passing. So he would probably do really well in the future as a ball playing defender. But even then, I elected to not really pick him up here because if I'm going to spend 50 million on a talent, even 25 million is like the upper limit unless it's a career defining talent. And this guy just doesn't seem to be quite up there. He's close, but not all the way up there where he's worth 50 million. I think we're going to have better odds of picking him up for a better price later on. So we're going to just leave him be due to that. But yeah, we won the league somehow. I'm actually surprised. And as I said, I think this is more of a bold job than City than us doing particularly well. But we have been lucky for the most part of the season to avoid injuries. So we'll take it. 19 in preseason odds. We should have put some money on this, but we did win, and I'm very, very happy with that. Now, we still have one more game remaining this year, and that is against Leicester. So let us get that game over with, and then we'll finish off this very, very good season of ours, where we've actually done some pretty good stuff. Semi-final for the FA, quarter-final for the Champions League, and what was it, fourth round for Carabao? Yeah, fourth round. So I say that is an acceptable result for us. But now, though, let us speed along, and we'll do that final game. And as you can see, Crystal Palace is probably going to be safe. There's just too much of a goal difference here. Although I don't know if it goes between goes goal difference or internal games. But Nottingham winning both of their games here is probably going to be a little bit rough. They're fighting Tottenham and Arsenal, and they're also in the FA Cup final. So it's a shame that we lost against Liverpool, because this could have been a very, very fun game too. But it is what it is. Let us speed along here and finish up this very, very fun season of ours. Well, Nottingham beat Liverpool in the FA Cup, so this is the weirdest timeline confirmed. But if they can beat Liverpool, they can beat Tottenham, they can beat Arsenal, they can beat them enough that Crystal Palace here gets relegated instead of them. So they qualify for the Europa League. So what I expect here is that they're going to be financially stable enough that they're just going to come directly back up again. But that is interesting here. We have another rumor for Heddle, so let us see if we can make some money with all of our potential transfers next year. And also looking forward to seeing if we get any of the optionals going through. But I'm finally going to get that final game done. I don't think there's anything that's going to interrupt it now, but we'll see. I just wanted to quickly show this too, as one of the reasons why our team has been doing so well. As you can see here, we've actually gotten good partnerships with basically everyone. Smith has a good partnership with Ferguson, Mitoma, Bargy both have a good relationship with their backs. Patterson, not really gotten that partnership up and running yet, because, well, injuries for the most part. But also Duncan Diamanda has a fairly good relationship, so does Neves and Vettelson. And I think this has helped us fairly much here in the, well, in the build-up to this, because they've had these kind of relationships for most of the season, with the exception of Vettelson and, of course, also Neves, who came in this season. But generally, these relationships have been working, and as you can see, some of them are working very well. So I think I think it's gone really, really good. And again, this is a strategy that we have been employing. I have been changing things a little bit more, where these guys will be running wide with the ball, kind of, and basically working on getting some more stretch into the teams here. Smith Rowe, more direct passes, a little bit more risk, but it has been panning out. So we've been messing around with the individual destructions for some of the individual instructions. And I think that too has helped this year. But yeah, I'll finally get that final game done. But I just remembered this, and I just want to show it, because I think this is the first time I've had this happen, where everyone, with the exclusion of the goalkeeper, kind of at least has a working relationship on the field with someone else. So the board is disappointed in me because we failed to develop the best youth system in the country. Now, this is very interesting for a couple of reasons, mainly the fact that I've been checking the board request tab every month, and this is the first time I've seen this one here, improve youth facilities. So generally we haven't had that option, and for the most part here, the rest is good. So the only other things that I could have done is probably get better coaches for the under-18 squad. But other than that, there was nothing I could do until I got the option now to improve the youth training facility. I think that is what it was. But as you can expect, that the fact that it fails like that is kind of hilarious. We are pleased the club's youth system is improving strongly. Thumbs down. So, as one might expect, it is that is a little bit weird. But yeah, nothing I can do about that. We'll just have to improve better, I guess, next season. The excuse me, the season is coming to a close there. We did lose that final game against Leicester 2-1. I did use all of my youth players, so not a surprise that we lost. But what I'm finding interesting is that we have a ticket waiting list here now that is close to twice the amount of a supporter list here that is now close to twice the capacity of the stadium. It's 31,800. So we're still going to be arguing with the board going forwards, trying to get our new stadium on our hands, of course. And at least our social media platform is growing. Now, in terms of the Club Vision Expectation meeting, we're just going to finish all of this and see how it goes. I did try and set up some new set pieces here, but it just did not work. So I think I'll go ahead and negotiate, and I do want to get rid of make the most out of set pieces, because I am bad at them. Increase commercial revenue. We've added this as we feel is a good missed sense. How exactly am I supposed to do this? Spend the original transfer budget? We've added this as we feel the club should be using. I need to spend. Okay, okay. I'm saving too much money apparently. Develop the best youth system in the country. Okay, I think I'm happy with all of these. There's nothing really, surprising. Win the domestic cup, win the Premier League, challenge for Premier League. So let's see if they agree. They agreed to getting rid of that clause for the set pieces. I'm happy with that, honestly, because we are playing decent football otherwise in terms of the high tempo pressing. We do play attacking, possession, and so entertaining football. They're at least pleased on that. So I think we're happy here, honestly. But I am gonna have to figure out how we're gonna be increasing commercial revenue by signing using players to bring in a merchandising boost. Okay, so basically bring in Messi if you can. I see. I see. I see. We've lost some dressing room atmosphere, which isn't surprising, but it should also not be a problem. Let us discuss our plans for next season. Let us talk for the Premier League games. Congratulations on winning a title. Make sure you come back fully rested because I won't accept any less. I think we'll just go for the Champions League qualification, and we'll just settle it at that because we already have a very good squad dynamic. So while it could be, of course, good to take this opportunity to boost it even more, for now I'm happy with this. Usually the first couple of weeks every season is me losing half of this anyways, so we'll build it up because I do so many transfers. New season team report. As you can see here, Neves, Gray, Bove, Bonot, Ferguson. I need to get another midfielder, but generally here, the central defenders is what needs a bit of a boost now because Patterson and Kerkers are both rather good. Kerkers actually developed really, really nicely here. He's not full 4 stars yet on the support aspect, but he has developed pretty nicely while he's been. He came here as a 2.5 star, developed upwards here. And if we look at it from an attribute perspective, he hasn't really gained much in terms of pure points. He's gained 4 points over the course of last season. But he's also made a bunch of progress that doesn't necessarily, quantify into full points yet, but does give better performance. So I'm happy with this. And as I said, we'll see what happens with the transfer window. We might have someone that is trying to get snatched. As you can see, Verbruggen here has had a hip injury. He's been injured a little bit. Other than that, Smith Rowe, he's been having 6 injuries. Patterson has 5. Neves have had 6. So the fact that these 3 kind of important players of ours are struggling with injuries is a little bit worrisome. But it should still be fine. Talismagno, Magno, new player of the year in where is this? Bayer Leverkusen, Germany. Is a little bit interesting to look at. But I thought we'd just have a look at the stats of some of our talents. Monaghan, he is growing nicely. He's going to be very, very good. Honestly, in a year or two, he's still 17 years old, about to turn 18 at the start of next season. Esteval, we picked him up. He's not anything special yet, but we're hoping to use him as more of a potato. He has a lot of potential, so he's too looking good. Mitchell is losing potential here from what is expected. But I still want to try and keep him and see if we can grow him somewhat because he is a could be a useful squad option. But if he doesn't develop much next year, we might end up just letting him go because of that. Matoma, Baldessani, both of these kind of reached their peaks. Baldessani is more or less a backup right now, but even then he is doing the job nicely. Baji has also again reached his peak more or less, but he is playing well. Well, playing okay at least. 696 in the league, so I can't fault him too much. Bonanot still has a little bit to go on, but generally doesn't develop much, even if he's had a ton of playtime last season, 36 games. So yeah, I'm a little bit unsure how this is looking. Basically, if he's might already have reached his peak, he's losing a little bit of penalty taking, free kick taking, and he's developing his stats, particularly in the decision making, a little bit in the physical. So we'll have to see if he keeps on developing or if he's getting stagnant. Barco is becoming that little bit of a play everywhere character, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but at the same time, 15 average for 3 positions is not a bad thing. So he is still really, really good. And having a wingback that can do crossing and dribbling is pretty nice. Let's see, next up we have Naipen, who is kind of stagnating a little bit in his development here. So we'll have to see what we do with him. Same can kind of be said for Archie Gray, but he is already very, very good all round. More of a defensive outset. More of a defensive outfit than anything else, but we should be able to make use of him. Neves, our best player by far. Really, really good. Been playing really well this season too. Definitely worth the money we paid for him, I'd argue. And hopefully he doesn't get snatched this year. Let's put it like that. Now, Betlesen hasn't really been super good or anything like that. His stats tell you that he has been super good, but he hasn't been the first choice really. So it's kind of hard. He's been passed up a couple of times in the best games by the assistant. I've been putting him in. So there's something going on here where the assistant does not like his stats. I usually use the assistant to get a basis for the games, but he is actually doing better than one might expect, and he's been a good addition, particularly for the value that we picked him up at. I'd say he has been doing fairly well. Bove is reaching the point now where he is seeing limited playing, limited usage. He has played a lot of subs games here, but his rating is fairly low, and that is a little bit of a problem. He does have high work rate, he has high tackling, marking, everything here. So I'm kind of tempted to retrain him as a central defender, but at the same time, I know he's going to lose some stats if we do that, so let's not do it for now. He is a very good squad option at the moment. Now, Bot here has not really been given many chances for over the course of the season, but he's losing development potential, and as such, I think it's best for us if we just try and offload him onto another team. Kerkes doing very well. He too is developing. We had a bit of a look at him, but he's going to be very good on that left wing back. Don't care. Will be leaving us in free transfer. Clark is not really developing super quickly, but he is a potentially very good talent on that right wing back. Martinez is kind of reaching his peak. We might end up selling him and replacing him with a Ute. We'll have to see. Patterson has been doing fairly well when he's been given the options. Not anything, massively impressive, but he has been injury prone this year. So that has limited him. And finally, Restus, who has developed incredibly well, I guess you could say, over the course of this year. He's become really the just #1 goalie that we have. And the reports kind of reflect that. It is what it is. But yeah, it's been a good season, honestly. I just want to go through the squad a little bit. I've kind of been neglecting them for the last couple of episodes, I feel. So that is the squad that we currently have. And I do think that it is a good squad. probably not Champions League winning material or FA Cup winning material, but the fact that we won the Premier League is also a bit of a surprise. But Matoma has been very important for that. Basically, also, although I talked him down a little bit here, let's see if I can find him. Am I blind? Slightly. Battleson has been important. I couldn't remember his name there for a second. So yeah, we'll see what we do here. There could be some transfers going in, going out, but generally here, I'm happy with where my squad is at. We have kind of gotten, I was about to say got rid of. We have kind of gotten the squad into a position where most of the younger players are the ones that remain. I might have given Matoma here a bit of a long contract. He's going to be signing that contract at the end of the season. So we'll have to see what we do with that. But currently, it's looking good. Betlison, we don't really have many older players, so we don't really have to worry too much about their skills degrading. It's more now about replacing, say, players like Martinez here, like Bove, Baldessani, basically players that kind of have reached their peak with players that can go even higher. And until those talents go higher, they'll be basically covering those positions, which sounds horrible to say, but it's generally how I develop teams. I pick up players, I look for deals like the one we found with Neves, with Vetlesen, and if we can't find any deals like that, we go ahead and we buy talents and we raise them. And once those talents gets close to taking over the position of their predecessor, we sell the predecessor. So it's very cynical. Let's be honest, it's a very cynical way of doing things, but it's an effective way of doing things in games like this. And that is kind of why I like that approach. But yeah, that is it for this season of Brighton. Third season complete. We have won the Premier League. We did also win another point of silverware in the beginning. I can't remember what it's called. The CONMEBOL challenge. We took it. So we actually won 2 titles there. Let's see if we can get some more titles next year. But it has been a very, very fun season. Before we end the episode, let's have a look at the end of season review for the 25-26 season with a Premier League title. So first and foremost, the new arrivals. Let's have a look here. We did buy quite a number of players, and most of them did perform pretty well. Board is pretty happy with Puentes. Listen, just happy with him. Honestly, done probably the best out of everyone. 725. Heddle has done well, but again, I think over time we're gonna get a better keeper out of our current one. So we're gonna try and sell him, as I said. Neves been a class signing, a little bit on the expensive side, but he is a world player, so very good. Doig kind of became surplus requirements. We're probably gonna be looking to sell him. Kakas done a good job. Patterson, a little bit on the expensive side, let's be perfectly honest here, but got the job done. Rest here are talents with the exception of Buongiorno. We'll have to see what we do with him because he too was kind of on the expensive side. But honestly, I'm kind of happy with how we did in the transfer window last season. So I think we can be happy with that. In terms of our sales here, we sold Alarete, Gilmore, Ayari, Munoz, Webster, Francis, Adinagra, Pedro, a bunch of sales actually in CISO, March. We loaned out Echegoyen. And generally here we had a pretty hefty transfer window, and you're probably going to see the same thing next season where we're going to be trying to sell a lot of these players that are currently on loan. So while the loans themselves have made us some money, the end goal here is of course to just sell them. But particularly Sarmiento here has done incredibly well on his loan, so we'll see what happens there if anyone jumps onto the optional fees, if you will. So we averaged 100% home attendance, which is one of the reasons why I want a new stadium. But again, it's going to be a bit of a long stretch, I think. Did win it by 1 point, but to be fair, we probably would have won it by 4 points if we didn't do a complete youth team against Leicester. So that is pretty much fine. Surprisingly enough, Mitoma beat Ferguson for top goal scorer, but we have been cultivating Monaghan, so that shouldn't actually come as too much of a surprise. Champions League, we did get knocked out in the quarterfinal by PSG, but up until that point, I felt like we had a pretty good run. No losses, a few draws.
excuse me. The Super Cup, we lost to City, but it was a close game. At least we can take that with us. FA Cup, lost to Liverpool. Nothing much to say. Also Chelsea in the Carabao. But Premier League has definitely been the big high point, and the fact, of course, that we did beat Barcelona at the Barcelona Stadium. So we can be very, very happy with that. Sponsorship revenue is going up by about 11 million. We've lost some broadcast revenue. We didn't go, to a Europa League final. Corporate and hospitality going up. We've got some more prize money though. Commercial and retail going down. We'll have to see what we do here with the merchandise. I'm thinking of starting to actually set up affiliates. I haven't actually done that yet. Affiliates in other countries for the point of bringing in more money. This is our most common lineup, and we did get a few accolades here. We also broke some few records: 31 goals in a season, 17 clean sheet, 11 player of the matches, and we did break the record transfer fee once again. I think we're going to keep on basically breaking that every year, potentially. We'll have to see. Because we still need to strengthen our squad a little bit if we are to keep that title next year, I would think. Young player, Norwegian Young Player of the Year, Asian Footballer of the Year. No surprise there. So yeah, a good season. And we get a good, nice little golden Premier League winners here, as well as a Hall of Famer. Yeah, nothing much more to say there. Now, there are a couple of other things that I want to mention before we call this for tonight. Remember that I did say that stadium expansion is a problem. The board has actually decided to expand the capacity by 700 seats for 2.8 million. That's going to be great. But I really wish that I could, beg for expansions, because I haven't actually had this option. I think the board is just forced to do this kind of because we are improving our reputation by winning leagues and everything like that. And I also did request an increase in the youth facilities here that the board initially rejected before I complained enough that we actually got that through. So it is a bit of a weird one. It's the best way I can say it. But at least for Lewis Dunk here, we did get him a Premier League title before he retires, or at least goes to another team. We'll see exactly where he ends up. But yeah, it's been a good season. Hope you've enjoyed, and I hope to see you around next time. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.